Hello dear student of class 7, how are you all? Student, as you know I am a science teacher from LPM Public School, Gola Bazar, Gorakhpur. Student, as you know after the in the previous video I have just revised few topics from the chapter Reproduction in Plants. I have done the revision work of the asexual mode of reproduction, in which I have explained the different method of reproduction by the help of vegetative reproductions by the help of their root, stem, leaf. Now, today in my this lecture video, I will further explain about the sexual reproduction in plant. Student, the sexual reproduction is related with the sexual gametes. Such reproduction occurs in the flowering plant, and the part, or you can say the sex organs or the gametes that helps reproduction in flowers, the male part and the female part, the male reproductive organ and the female reproductive organ. First, let's talk about the female reproductive organ. Before that, let me explain about such reproductions only occurs, such type of sexual reproduction only occurs in a flowering plant. Now, there are two different natures of flowers. The flower in which in an individual flower both the male and female gametes are present in an individual flower, such flower is called bisexual. And the flower in which only one gamete is present in an individual flower, either male gamete or female gamete. The flower in which both the gametes are not present, any one of the gamete is present, either female or male. Such type of flower and the reproduction that occurs there is the unisexual flower, and reproduction takes place in such type of plant by just cross fertilization, cross pollination, sorry, not fertilization, cross pollination, that I will explain you further. But as I told you just now that this type of sexual reproduction occurs in a flowering plant, and the flower is of two different natures according to their gametes. The flower in which both the gametes are present in an individual same flower, then it is called the bisexual. And the flower in which any one of the gamete is present, not both, any one, either male or female, that is called the unisexual. Now let's student further go, and I am going to further explain you about the gametes. Let's start about the female reproductive organ. So student, at the center of the flower there are present the female reproductive gamete, which is called pistil, P-I-S-T-I-L, or carpel, which has got different parts. It is broad in its upper part is broader, which we call the stamen. Sorry, not stamen, stigma. I'm extremely sorry. The female reproductive part, that is the female gamete, which we call pistil or carpel, the upper part of this pistil is broader, which we call stigma. If you come down, little bit down, the part become narrower, and that part is called the stigma upper part, style the middle narrower part. And as the narrower part comes at the basal area, it becomes little broader, which we call ovary. So stigma the upper part, style the mid part, and lower part is the ovary. Inside the ovary, one or more than one ovules are present, in which ovum is present, which is the egg cell of the flower, female reproductive part. So student, so student, all this total. Student, as I have tried to draw the figure with my left hand, I know it is not good enough because my right hand is injured. So little bit rough diagram I have drawn here to show that this is the female reproductive gamete, that is called pistil or carpel. The upper broader part is the stigma. The narrower part is called the style, and the lower part is called the ovary. Inside the ovary there is a ovule, and ovule contains ovum. And there from the upper regions a tube comes that joins the ovary section. That tube is called the pollen tube. So student, this you see, this is the female reproductive part of the flower, stigma, style, and ovary. Inside the ovary, ovule is present that contains ovum. That is the egg cells of the female sex gametes. So next student come about the male reproductive organ, that we call stamen. that we call stamen. Stamen also contain three parts, that is the upper part is called the anther, and anther, the lower part of the anther is the filament, and above the anther there is a male sex cell present that is called pollen grain, which is yellowish in color, covered with a tough covering to protect that sex organs that helps in fertilization of the ovule, egg cells of the flower. So student, now the male reproductive. So student, you can see here that I have drawn the male reproductive part, that is the stamen. That is the stamen. And stamen contains the three part, that is the anther and filament. This anther contain pollen grain here, which transfers at the time of pollination. At the time of pollination. So student, you have seen I have drawn the male reproductive part, stamen, and I have mentioned its different parts. This is the filament part, this is the anther, and above the anther, the yellowish dust particles that is present called the, not the dust particles, means the pollen grain is present, which is the important, you can say, organ, sex organs that helps in reproduction. So this is about the male reproductive part. Next student, about the pollination. Now pollination means what? The transfer of this pollen grain from the anther to the stigma. Okay. To the stigma. As I have already in just previous above before this explanation of male reproductive part, I have explained about the female reproductive part, in which I have drawn the female sex organ, that is called the pistil or carpel. So this upper part is called the stigma that I have told you, and the middle part is called the style that I have already told you, and this part is called the ovary, and inside the ovary ovule is present that contains ovum. So the transfer of the anther from the male reproductive part to female reproductive part of the stigma, and from this pollen tube it comes down inside the ovary in the ovule and gets attached with the ovum that is present in the female part. And this transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of the female, means from male reproductive organ to female reproductive organ, the transfer of pollen grain is called pollination. Now student, as I have already told you, there are two different natures of flower. As I have already told you, there are two different natures of flower. One flower that contains only male reproductive or female reproductive organ, and there are one flower in which both the male and female reproductive organs are present. So the flower, in that case, if a flower that contains only a male reproductive organ, so that flower transfers the pollen grain to another flower that contains only female reproductive organs. If the pollen grain from one flower is transferred to other flower, that we call the cross pollination. That we call, student, what? Cross pollination. The transfer of pollen grain from anther from male reproductive part of one flower to female reproductive part of other flower. This is called the cross pollination. That is under my explanation point, cross pollination. And self pollination, the transfer of pollen grain inside the same flower. Suppose that a flower which have got both the male and sex organs, that is both the anther, stigma and anther, filament, and as well as the stigma and style and ovary, that means both the stamen and the pistil, both are present in the same flower, then the transfer of pollen grain could occur in the same flower, to the transfer to the same stigma of the same flower. This is called the self-pollination. So student, here today I have explained about the sexual reproductive organ always occur in a flowering plant, because flower contains the reproductive organ, that is sex organs of male and female. The female reproductive part is stigma, style and ovary that contains ovule. Inside the ovule, ovum is present. And the male reproductive part, that is called the stamen, that had got three different parts, that is the filament, anther and pollen grain is present. Next student, I will explain about the pollination. The transfer of pollen grain from the male gamete to the female gamete, means from anther to the stigma, is called pollination. And pollination occurs in two different ways. I have also told you that there are two different nature of flower, that is unisexual and bisexual. The flower in which both the male and female gametes are present, that is called the bisexual, and the flower in which either only male or only female gamete is present, that is called the unisexual. In case of unisexual, one unisexual male gamete, the pollen grain from one unisexual flower of male gamete transferred to other unisexual flower in which female gamete is present, that is called the cross pollination. But if the pollination is occurring, taking place in the same flower, within the same flower of the male to the female part, is called self-pollination. So student, today I have cleared these topics. Meet you in your next video, lecture video. So listen the video carefully. Thank you. Have a nice day.